Nice to meet you. Good. How are you? Hey, nice to see you. I apologize if my voice is a little bit gone. We had an early morning mat drill this morning. We were getting after it pretty good. So in advance, I apologize for that.
Billy, I guess to start, how important was last year for you? I know Ryan today basically said you were de facto quarterback's coach, just running the offense. Just how important was that year for you to kind of get your bearings?
Well, I think on a bunch of different levels, it was a really great opportunity. Going out to work for Coach Kelly at UCLA, and then he made the decision to come here, and then between him and Coach Day, just giving me the opportunity to come here and continue to work with them. I had been lucky to work with Coach Day and the offensive staff here in the past, and to get the opportunity to be back in this building was so critical to me. I feel like it's a special place, and once you get a piece of it and you're in it, and you feel what it's like to be part of the Woody every single day. To have the opportunity to come back is a no-brainer, and you're kind of always scratching and itching, trying to get back to that position. So first off, just the opportunity to do that was so awesome. And then you walk into that quarterback room, and the guys in the room, it was a special group last year. We're obviously kind of turning the leaf now and moving forward, but just to work with Will and to work with Devin and Lincoln and Julian, and Air when he was here, and just across the board. It was such a good group of guys, and I think that chemistry was a big reason of why we had the success down the stretch. The opportunity to work with Will and to work with a guy like that's a pro, and the way he approached the game and the way he approached it with such great detail, and he always wanted to know more, and he was always trying to dive in and learn more. To me, it was a big part of why he was able to go out and have so much success, because of the way he prepared. So just to answer your question, the opportunity to continue to learn from Coach Day and to work with him, to the opportunity to learn from Coach Kelly and work with him, and then work with the group of guys that I got to work with last year was a pretty special thing for me.
So when Chip leaves, did you expect this to then be your job?
Oh, I mean, don't think I don't understand. Like, being the quarterback coach at Ohio State is such an honor. It's a dream job. You start coaching and you start getting in this profession, and you think maybe one day if I work hard, I'll have that opportunity. So did I think so? No, I didn't. I wasn't sure. Coach Day can go out and find the best quarterback coach in the country. That's how special this place is. So when I was given the opportunity, just completely honored and so excited for the chance to do it. And I'm just excited to get rolling here and to start getting after it.
How long did you have to think about it?
0 seconds.
Billy,
Do you have a pecking order going into the spring? I mean, you in your mind of who takes the first snaps? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, somebody has to take the first snap.
Yeah, no, we do not. To be honest with you, Coach Day and I will sit down along with Coach Hartline and have those conversations. But the reality is we're going to let those guys compete, and we're going to let those guys go have equal opportunities. We are really far away from the start of fall camp and getting into the season. So more than anything, I'm just excited to watch them compete. Excited to watch them grow. Last year, both Lincoln, Julian, and then Tavian at the end of the year had the opportunity to see what it looks like, and to watch Will and watch how he operated, and to learn from him, and at the same time prepare to the level that if something were to happen, they're ready to go in the game and go execute. So now to step into a role where they're competing for the job, is a little bit of a different deal. So I'm excited to see them compete more than anything.
Can you give your kind of impressions of each of those three guys from what you coached Julian and Lincoln all year, and Tavian for a little bit? Just your initial impressions of those guys?
Yeah. So start with Lincoln. A guy that's going into his third year here, and I think really when you've been in an offense for 2 years already, and you're going into that third year, you've got a really good feel of the scheme. You've got a better feel of college defenses, and where our schemes are susceptible, and where the issues lie, and what we're trying to attack. And so I think that's something that over time I can feel Lincoln getting a better and better feel for it. Lincoln has definitely stepped up from a leadership perspective, and you could see the way that he attacks workouts, and this winter is so big for all three of them. Just really to set the standard and to understand the intangibles that playing quarterback is all about, right? Because there's so much more than just picking up a football and throwing it when it comes to succeeding on Saturdays. So I've seen that growth from Lincoln, and that's really exciting. As for Julian, last year, going into the year, he was competing for a job and, ended up not winning the job. And, he could have turned it down and been bummed out and, not attacked it the right way. But I saw him continue to grow throughout the year. I saw him to learn from Will and to get to a point this year where now he can step up and be more of a vocal leader. And that's something that I've seen growth in him as well. He's put on some weight and he looks good, and he's definitely attacked his time in the winter, and so that's been awesome. And then Tavian comes in, and Tavian's really should still be in high school. Instead, he's in my office all the time, learning the offense. And when he's not with me, he's with Coach Mick. And when he's not with Coach Mick or I, he's over there doing academics in Sasso. So his days are pretty jam-packed, and it's definitely new for him. But his commitment to wanting to be great and wanting to be to the level where he can go out and compete in the spring has been really impressive. So I'm excited for all three of them.
Does it feel like what's August 30th? Is it just around the corner? You understand what I'm saying? You got to have a guy ready to go against Texas.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so quite yet. And I think we have a unique situation where we've got three really talented kids. They're all young. They all have a lot of room to grow, and I think they all understand that and are eager to attack that growth. But most college football teams, or a lot of college football teams, go into a year and they end up, having a guy get hurt or something happens. So as far as, having one guy, that's not the goal either. We want to develop the room. We want all three of them, to continue to get better, to continue to develop, and, be guys that we can count on, throughout the season.
Do you guys want a fourth scholarship guy?
That's still in conversation. We'll kind of see how it goes. Obviously 3 is a little bit less than we typically have, but, there are 3 that we're really confident in right now.
Last year you got Ryan working with quarterbacks, Chip working with quarterbacks, you working with quarterbacks, Riley working with quarterbacks. Who's filling out your room? Did you have someone that you have in mind to come in and be an assistant for you, or how do you see that?
Yeah, right now Colin Kiano's in helping me. So Colin was working with me at Akron. He was a student assistant, and he was really, really impressive there. So he's going to come in and he's going to help out with some of the day-to-day stuff. And then, Coach Day and I have built a pretty good relationship where, between my time here as a GA where, I learned the game of football the way he sees it. And that was such a pivotal time in my career. I was so blessed in college and then in my first my first job there that I got to work with Joe Moorhead. And, I learned so much football from that man. And I credit so much of my career to him. To put me in the position, but then having the opportunity to, maybe I'm going to see it through a little bit of a different lens and to learn how Coach Day sees it was so big for me in my development. So that couple years as a GA was awesome for me, and then last year to be able to sit in with him and really kind of see the game, in a similar fashion. And I'm always going to continue to learn from him because he's just such a special coach, but to be able to see it, in a similar way and to continue to bounce thoughts off him, to make sure that him and I are communicating it the same way. Coach Day will always be directly involved with the quarterbacks, and now Coach Hartline will as well. As the offensive coordinator, I think as the guy in that chair, you have to have a relationship with the guy that's in the huddle. I think that's really important. So, him and I have already begun conversations just about, how that's going to work out and how, he's going to continue to see the game the same way that the quarterback does, and how he's going to communicate to them. Those conversations are already beginning. So it'll definitely be a combination of us 3.
Billy, Tavian being there for the championship run, how did that, help with his development?
Well, it's pretty cool. Just about every one of those games where he was at a playoff game or at the national championship, our guys were warming up, and I'd grab him. I say, hey, look around. You got to take a couple minutes to take this in, right? This is what it looks like. This is what we work for. So, when you get to a really hard day in the winter, right, you just remember, no, I'm working to get to that point. So for him to have that experience and to be able to see that and, hopefully one day when he's in that spot, he's like, oh, I've seen this before. I know what it looks like. It's pretty cool, I think, just to have that banked in his memory.
Julian's a pretty soft-spoken guy. How much does he need to kind of emerge as a vocal leader?
Yeah, I think he comes off soft-spoken, but he's without question, come out of his shell. And I wouldn't even say he was soft-spoken last year. I think that he kind of understood that, Will was in charge of the offense, and he knew that he was young and was still earning respect. A big part about leadership is you can't just walk into a room and start leading. You have to earn the respect of your peers, and Julian understood that. And, I think he earned that respect throughout the year. And so this year you're definitely seeing him step up. Him and Lincoln both, are in that phase where they've earned that respect. And so they're doing a really good job leading right now. And Tavian's doing a good job earning respect. So we're kind of in the middle right there between those 2 phases.
Billy,
less than 2 years into like just specializing as a quarterback. I mean, he was a multi-sport athlete in high school, kind of through the end of his high school career. I guess where do you think he is in harnessing all of that raw athletic ability to being a really good college quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Lincoln's a special athlete. And, you know, guys that have that background that have been successful at multiple different sports, you know, one way or another is going to translate to the game of football. So I think that we're continuing to see that from Lincoln. You know, I think as the more that he, you know, is in position to understand and learn the game, in which we saw all last year, he continued to grow. And so to take that into spring, you know, and combine that with his athletic ability, I'm excited to see, you know, and I think it'll be a really good competition.
Can a quarterback truly lead until he is a quarterback?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the number one quarterback.
Oh, I think so. I think so. I mean, leadership comes in all different phases, you know, in all different ways. And there's, you know, there's without question, I've been part of different teams and I've seen it where maybe the guy that wasn't the starting quarterback was, you know, the strongest leader on the team. So I definitely think that that's part of it. You know, I think once you earn the respect of your teammates and once you show that, you know, you're going to lead by example and, you know, they respect you for that, you're in position now that you can be vocal. So, you know, I definitely don't think that you need to be a starter or named a quarterback to be a leader at all.
You've been around some incredible offensive minds in college already. Like, what are the traits you look for specifically as a quarterback, being a former quarterback yourself?
Yeah, you know, I think it comes in a couple different ways. You know, from a tangible perspective, you know, I think that you've got to be extremely accurate. I think you have to be able to make great decisions with the football and get the ball out on time. And I think that you have to be able to at least solve a problem with your feet. So, you know, it's rare in college football that every protection's blocked up perfectly or everything goes the exact way that we drew it up on the whiteboard. So when things break down, you know, the ability to fix it with our legs. And then, you know, as far as intangibles go, you know, I look at, you know, a guy like Will who had those intangibles about as well as I've ever seen. And that's just complete command and understanding of both the offense and the huddle, to know exactly what we're trying to do on every single play, know what we're trying to attack, understand where the issues are and where they lie and how you're going to combat those issues. To be able to understand, you know, when it's time to move on, throw the ball away, move on to the next play, and then also to be mentally tough enough that when things don't go our way, to be able to react the right way and move on to the next play.
One last question, folks. Final question. Audition at all, or were you just focused on?
Oh, no, I didn't view it as an audition at all. Like when you're coaching and you build a relationship with these guys, you want nothing more than for them to go out and have success on the field. And I think that that's so, you know, so important. Like I sit in that room and, you know, it's about them. It's about them going out and reaching their potential and maximizing their talents and going out and execute on the field. And so, you know, last year I was just trying to find a way that I could help them do that. So, you know, to be able to work with those guys last year and to help out and, you know, have them see some success. Well, yeah, it was special for me, but it was special for me because I know how bad they wanted it. And so that was pretty neat.
Great. Billy, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.